Elena, it's me, your father, the man at my doorstep said, his voice quivering as if he feared I'd slam the door before he could finish. I stood rooted to the spot, my hand clutching the doorknob so tightly I could feel its edges biting into my palm. It had been 22 years since I'd last seen him, 22 years since he walked out, leaving us to piece together a life without him. And now, here he was, standing on my porch in the dim glow of the streetlights, as if he had any right to claim a place in my world. My name is Elena Harper. I'm 32, and I'm a structural engineer. My life is built on precision, calculating stresses, balancing forces, designing systems that hold firm under pressure. But no equation could solve the mystery of why my father, Marcus, abandoned us when I was 10, leaving my mother, Sophia, and my siblings Lucas and Clara to navigate the wreckage he left behind. "Why are you here?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended, cutting through the humid evening air. He looked at me, his face etched with lines that spoke of a hard life, his eyes carrying a flicker of something. Shame, perhaps. He shifted his weight, hands fidgeting at his sides. "Elena, I just want to talk. To explain," he said, his words halting. "I know I messed up, but I'm trying to make things right." I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, my heart pounding. Make things right? After 22 years? Where were you when Mom was working double shifts to keep us fed? When Lucas was spiraling? When Clara blamed herself for your absence? My voice rose, each question a shard of the pain I'd buried long ago. His shoulders sagged, and for a moment, he looked like he might crumble. "I didn't mean for it to get so bad," he said softly. "I wasn't in a good place back then." "Well, neither were we," I snapped, "but we didn't get to walk away." I stood there, staring at the man who'd once been my father, memories flooding back with a clarity that stung. His departure hadn't been sudden. It was a slow unraveling, a storm building over weeks. Even at 10, I could sense the tension in our small Seattle apartment, the way my parents' voices would escalate behind closed doors, the air thick with unspoken grievances. They fought about everything, bills piling up, the strain of 3 kids, my father's late nights at the bar. I'd lie awake, their arguments seeping through the thin walls like a poison. Sophia, we're supposed to be a team, my mother would plead, her voice breaking. "I can't do this alone." "I'm suffocating here," my father would retort, his tone sharp. "The bills, the kids, the constant pressure. I can't breathe." "What about Elena, Lucas, Clara?" My mother shot back one night, her voice low but fierce. "They see this, Marcus. They feel it." Those words haunted me. My father grew distant, his presence in the house like a ghost's. Then one evening, he came into my room as I was coloring at my desk. He sat on the edge of my bed, his voice softer than I'd heard in months. "Hey, kiddo," he said, forcing a smile. "I just wanted to say goodbye." "Where are you going?" I asked, my crayon pausing mid-stroke. "I'm heading out for a bit," he said, his eyes avoiding mine. "I'll see you soon, okay?" But soon never came. That was the last I saw of him until now, standing on my doorstep, looking like a stranger who'd wandered into the wrong life. His hair was graying, his frame thinner, his clothes worn but clean. Part of me wanted to shut the door and lock away the past, but another part, the part that remembered Lucas's quiet pain, Clara's tears, my mother's exhaustion, kept me rooted, demanding answers. "Why now?" I asked, my voice steadier but still cold. "After all this time, why show up now?" He rubbed the back of his neck, a nervous habit I vaguely remembered. "I know it's late, Elena. Too late, maybe, but I need to try to reconnect. I'm not asking for forgiveness, just a chance to talk." I let out a sharp breath, my chest tightening. "I can't do this right now," I said, struggling to keep my composure. I need time. He nodded, his gaze dropping to the porch. I get it. I'll come back in a few days. I hope you'll let me in. He stepped back, hesitating, then turned and walked into the night, his silhouette fading under the streetlights. I closed the door, my hands trembling as I leaned against it. My mind was a whirlwind of anger, confusion, and something softer I didn't want to name. Grabbing my phone, I called my mother, needing her grounding presence. She answered on the first ring, her voice warm but tinged with concern. Elena, what's wrong? He showed up, I blurted, pacing my living room. Dad was at my house just now. A long pause followed, then her voice turned firm. He came to me last week. I stopped mid-step. What? Why didn't you tell me? I didn't want to stir things up, she said, sighing. He said he wanted to reconnect, to make amends. I told him it's too late for that and sent him away. What happened? I pressed, gripping the phone. He left, she said, simply. But Elena, listen to me. You don't owe him anything. He made his choice when he walked out 22 years ago. Don't let him guilt you into opening that door again. Her words were a lifeline, but they didn't quell the storm inside me. He said he's coming back in a few days, I said softly. Be careful, she warned. He's good at saying what people want to hear. You're stronger than he ever was. I nodded, though she couldn't see, her words anchoring me. After hanging up, I called Lucas, my younger brother, unable to shake the fear that our father might seek him out next. Lucas answered groggily, his voice heavy with sleep. Elena? What's up? Has Dad tried to contact you? I asked. Cutting to the chase, a pause, then a sharp intake of breath. Dad? No, why would he— Wait, did he come to you? He was just here, I said, resuming my pacing. And Mom said he showed up at her place last week. Lucas exhaled, his voice tightening. No, he hasn't come here, but just hearing this makes my skin crawl. What does he want? He says he wants to reconnect, I said, the word bitter on my tongue. Reconnect? Lucas scoffed. Where was he when we were eating canned soup for weeks? When I was in therapy? He doesn't get to waltz back in like nothing happened. I swallowed hard, his anger mirroring my own. Next, I called Clara, my younger sister, who answered with her usual energy. Hey, Elena, what's good? Has Dad come to your place? I asked without preamble. Her tone shifted instantly. No, why? Did he show up at yours? Yeah, and Mom's, I said. I'm worried he'll try you next. If he does, he's getting an earful, Clara said, her voice steel. He lost any claim to us when he bailed. I've got nothing to say to him. Her resolve steadied me, but the weight of their reactions lingered. Our father hadn't reached Lucas or Clara yet, but his sudden reappearance felt like a storm looming over us all. I sank onto my couch, staring at the ceiling, the past clawing its way back into my present. A few days later, my phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. Can we talk? It's about Dad. My stomach knotted as I dialed him, bracing for whatever was coming. Elena, he said the moment he answered, his voice unsteady. I know this sounds insane, but I think we should meet him. Just once, all of us together. Are you serious? I asked, my frustration flaring. You really think one conversation will fix 22 years of absence? No, he admitted, his voice raw. I don't think it'll fix anything, but I can't stop thinking about him, about all the questions I've carried. I need some kind of closure, Elena. Don't you? I didn't answer immediately, his words stirring a mix of anger and reluctant curiosity. Did you talk to Mom? Clara? Yeah, he said quietly. Mom said no. Clara said absolutely not. But I'm asking you because I don't think I can face him alone. Please, Elena. Just one meeting. If it's a disaster, we walk away. I closed my eyes, his plea tugging at me. I wasn't sure I could sit across from our father without unraveling, but Lucas's vulnerability made it impossible to refuse outright. "Let me think about it," I said finally. "I'll call you back." "Okay," he said, relief in his voice. "Thank you." After hanging up, I sat in the quiet of my apartment, torn between resentment and the faint pull of unresolved questions. Did I owe him this chance, or was it just another opportunity for him to hurt us? I didn't have answers, but Lucas's need for closure echoed something deep within me, a longing to confront the void he'd left. That evening, we gathered at my mother's house, the air thick with tension. Mom sat in her worn recliner, her expression calm but unyielding. Clara perched on the couch, arms crossed, her face a mask of defiance. Lucas sat across from her, leaning forward, his nervous energy palpable. I hovered on the edge of an ottoman, unsure where this conversation would lead. Lucas cleared his throat, breaking the silence. "I know this is hard, but I've been thinking we should meet him, just once to hear him out." Mom shook her head, her lips a thin line. "Lucas, I understand you need this, but I can't. I've made peace with his absence. I don't need to reopen that wound," Clara scoffed, her eyes flashing. "Mom's right. He doesn't deserve a second of our time. He abandoned us, Lucas. Why do you want to give him a platform?" Lucas straightened, frustration in his voice. "Because I need to know why. Why he left, why we weren't enough. You might not care, Clara, but I do. I need to hear it, even if it's a lie." Mom sighed, her gaze softening. "Lucas, I get it. But don't expect him to give you the truth. People like Marcus are good at twisting things." Clara's voice was firm. "I'm not going, and honestly, I don't think you should either. But if you're set on this, don't say I didn't warn you." Lucas turned to me, his eyes pleading. "Elena, what about you? Will you come with me? I can't do this alone." I glanced at Mom, her worry etched deep, then at Clara, her resolve unshaken. My own emotions churned, anger, fear, a flicker of curiosity I didn't want to acknowledge. Finally, I nodded. "I'll go," I said quietly, "but only to make sure he doesn't pull anything. We listen, and if he crosses a line, we're done." Lucas exhaled, relief washing over him. "Agreed." Mom's voice was soft but firm. "Be careful, both of you. He's good at getting under your skin." Clara shook her head, silent but clearly disapproving. I couldn't tell if we were making a mistake, but the decision was made. This wasn't going to be easy. That night, as I was washing dishes, a knock came at the door. My heart sank as I opened it to find my father standing there, his posture hunched as if braced for rejection. "Elena," he said, his voice tentative. "I know I shouldn't have come unannounced, but I need to talk. Just give me one chance." I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe. "You can't keep showing up like this," I said, my voice tight. "But fine. Saturday, 3 Riverside Park. It'll be me and Lucas. Mom and Clara aren't coming." He blinked, clearly surprised, then nodded quickly. "Okay, that's more than I expected. I'll be there." "Let's be clear," I said, my tone unyielding. "This isn't a reunion, it's a conversation. We'll hear you out, but that's it." "I understand," he said, his voice cracking. "Thank you, Elena." I nodded, stepping back. "Saturday," I repeated, closing the door. As the lock clicked, the weight of my decision settled over me. I wasn't sure what Lucas or I hoped to gain, but one thing was certain. Our father wouldn't walk away this time without facing the family he'd abandoned. The days before Saturday dragged, each hour heavy with anticipation. I threw myself into work, calculating load distributions and reviewing blueprints, but my mind kept drifting to the meeting. What did I want from it? An apology? An explanation? Or was I just doing this for Lucas? Every time my phone pinged, I braced for a message from my father canceling or Lucas backing out, but none came. Instead, I got mundane notifications, work emails, a reminder to pay my electric bill, and one text from Lucas. Still good for Saturday? By Friday night, my nerves were frayed. I sat on my couch, staring at a blank TV screen, debating whether to call Lucas and cancel. But I'd promised him, and deep down, I knew I needed this too. Not for my father, but for myself. To close a chapter I'd left open too long. Saturday dawned gray and overcast, the air heavy with the threat of rain. I woke early, unable to sleep, and spent the morning pacing my apartment, downing coffee, and rehearsing what I might say. As the clock neared 3, I grabbed my jacket, took a deep breath, and headed out. There was no turning back. I picked up Lucas at 2:15, finding him outside his apartment, pacing the sidewalk, hands buried in his pockets. He looked up as I pulled up, his face taut with nerves, and slid into the passenger seat. "Hey," he said, his voice strained. "Hey," I replied, glancing at him as I merged into traffic. "You ready?" "Not even close," he admitted, forcing a laugh. "But we're doing this, right?" "We are," I said, gripping the wheel. "Want to grab coffee first? We've got time." "Yeah, let's do that," he said, seizing the delay. We stopped at a drive-thru, the silence in the car heavy as we waited. "What's going through your head?" I asked, breaking the quiet. He stared out the window, clutching his coffee. "I'm scared, Elena. Not just of what he'll say, but of how it'll hit me. What if I walk away feeling worse?" I handed him his cup as we pulled away. "I've been asking myself that all week. But we're in this together. If it's bad, we leave and we don't look back?" "Deal," he said, nodding, his grip tightening on the cup. As we neared Riverside Park, my pulse quickened. This wasn't just about facing our father. It was about confronting the pain he'd left in his wake. We parked and spotted him on a bench by the river, his hands clasped tightly, his posture tense. He looked up as we approached, a hesitant smile flickering across his face. Lucas and I exchanged a glance, a silent agreement, and walked over, sitting on the bench opposite him. The air was thick, the silence begging to be broken. My father cleared his throat. "Thank you for coming," he said, his voice low. "I wasn't sure you would." Lucas leaned forward, his tone sharp. "We almost didn't. So here we are. What do you want?" My father flinched, the word "dad" hanging unspoken between us. "I just want a chance to explain," he said, his hands restless. "I know I hurt you both, failed you in ways I can't undo. But I need you to know it wasn't because I didn't love you." I shook my head, my jaw tight. "Then why?" "Because it sure felt like you didn't." He looked at me, his eyes heavy with regret. "I was drowning, Elena. I felt like I was failing, at work, as a husband, as a father. I thought leaving would be better for you, that I was the problem." Lucas's voice cracked as he cut in. "Better? You thought leaving us with nothing, forcing Mom to scrape by, was better? Do you know what that did to us?" My father's shoulders slumped, his gaze dropping. "I know it doesn't make sense now. I was selfish, weak. I thought staying away was the answer." "The answer?" I said, my voice rising. "Mom couldn't pay the bills. Lucas needed help you weren't there to give." Clara cried herself to sleep, thinking she drove you away. "That was your answer?" He swallowed hard, tears glistening. "I was wrong. I see that now. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just needed to say I'm sorry." Lucas let out a bitter laugh, leaning back. "Sorry doesn't fix it. Sorry doesn't make up for 22 years of absence." My throat tightened, my own pain surfacing. "The hardest part," I said, my voice shaking, "is that we didn't have a choice. We had to stay. to deal with the mess you left. You got to walk away, but we didn't. And now you think showing up is enough? He nodded slowly, tears falling. I know, but I couldn't live with myself without trying to tell you I'm sorry. I've thought of you every day. Lucas stood, his voice trembling. We didn't have the luxury of just thinking about you. We had to live it. I stayed seated, watching the man who'd shaped so much of my life through his absence. The conversation spiraled, my father repeating his apologies, Lucas countering with the pain of his abandonment. I felt my resolve fray, the weight of 22 years pressing down. I don't know what you expect, I said finally, cutting through the cycle. Do you think saying sorry changes anything? We've built lives without you. We don't need you. Now. His face crumpled, but I pressed on. You weren't there when we needed you. Not for Mom, not for Lucas, not for Clara, not for me. Now you want a place back, but there's no room left. Lucas glanced at me, his eyes reflecting my mix of anger and resolve. Dad, he said, his voice softer but firm, I thought this meeting would give me closure, but I realize I don't need anything from you. We've moved on, whether you have or not. I looked at my father, who seemed diminished, his hands trembling. I don't hate you, I said, surprising myself. But there's no space for you in our lives anymore. I'm sorry, but it's too late. He opened his mouth, but no words came. After a long silence, he nodded, his gaze fixed on the ground. I understand, he whispered. Lucas and I stood, turning to leave without another word. The walk back to the car was silent, the river's gentle rush the only sound. In the car, neither of us spoke, the quiet heavy but necessary. Lucas stared out the window, and I focused on the road, the hum of the engine grounding me. When we reached his apartment, he broke the silence. Thanks for coming, Elena. I couldn't have done that alone. I nodded, offering a small smile. We did what we needed to. Now we keep going. He hesitated, then nodded. Take care, Elena. You too, I said as he stepped out, the door closing softly behind him. Driving home, the silence felt different, less oppressive, more final. We'd faced our past, and while it didn't heal the wounds, it gave us permission to move forward. At home, I sank onto my couch, the weight of the day settling over me. My phone buzzed with a text from Clara. How'd it go? You okay? I typed. Back. It's done. We're okay. Call you tomorrow. Setting the phone down, I looked around my apartment. Photos of my family, blueprints from projects I'd designed, a life I'd built without him. The pain of his absence would always linger, but it no longer defined me. I was Elena Harper, and I was enough. In the weeks that followed, life resumed its rhythm. Work kept me busy. My latest project, a pedestrian bridge for a local park, demanding precision and creativity. Lucas and I spoke more often, our shared experience forging a new closeness. Clara, true to her word, refused to entertain our father's attempts to contact her, and Mom remained steadfast, her strength a quiet inspiration. One evening, as I sat with my partner Alex, sharing takeout and stories of our day, he sensed my lingering thoughts. You've been quiet about your dad, he said gently. Want to talk? I smiled, setting down my chopsticks. It's not about him anymore. It's about us. Me, Lucas, Clara, Mom. We're stronger than he ever gave us credit for. Alex took my hand, his warmth grounding me. You always have been. Months later, at a family dinner at Mom's, we laughed and reminisced. The shadow of our father's absence no longer a weight. Lucas shared plans for a new art exhibit. Clara announced a promotion, and Mom beamed with pride. I looked around, the table, my heart full. We'd faced the past and emerged whole, not because of him, but despite him. As I drove home that night, the stars bright above, I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. The road ahead was mine to shape, and I was ready for whatever it brought.